Welcome to the video on the Android SDK, where we will demonstrate how to integrate Bloomreach SDK into your native Android application. Before we dive in, let's go through the points we will cover in this video. First, we'll take a look at the prerequisites. Second, we'll explore our single source of truth, which is the GitHub Repository. Last, we will walk you through installing the SDK in a newly created project and showcase some of its features. There is some prerequisite knowledge needed. First of all, you need a solid understanding of Android development. The app we will demonstrate is just an example. Next, we should have some IDE where we will develop our application. We will use the Android Studio. First, let's visit the GitHub repository. You can easily find it by Googling Expo Android SDK. This repository provides the most up-to-date information, detailed integration guides, and comprehensive documentation of all SDK features. To start with integration, let's click on a detailed guide about the Expo SDK. This provides step-by-step instructions on how to integrate and start using our SDK. To explore all features, you can click on each link provided. Additionally, it contains release notes with the most up-to-date information about any changes that have occurred in the SDK. Each repository also contains a demo app where you can directly see how each feature is being used. In this section, we'll showcase the process of adding dependencies to the demo app. First, let's create an empty project and assign it a name. We'll wait for the project to be created. Prior to implementation, we will quickly adjust the target version of the SDK. We will also incorporate lifecycle dependencies and add the full backup content tag in the Android manifest. With that completed, we can proceed to add the required SDK dependency. Feel free to copy it directly from GitHub. After adding the dependency, we'll synchronize the files and attempt to build the app. Everything proceeds successfully, and our app with the Bloomreach SDK is now ready to be used. In this part, we will guide you through the configuration of the SDK. First, let's open the activity layout and add a couple of elements, such as buttons and text input fields. Next, we will navigate to GitHub and click on the configuration. Here, you'll find the complete list of properties available for configuration. These settings will be applied when you initialize the SDK. Remember that the SDK can only be initialized once, ideally at the app startup, as it hooks into the activity lifecycle. Now we will paste here an example initialization function. The three most important elements to configure are the authorization token, project token, and base URL. To find them, let's log into the Bloomreach project and go to the project settings, Access Management API. The authorization token can be created under the public group. The project token and base URL can be directly copied from this page. Don't forget to enable all necessary properties and events for the specific API group. We highly recommend adding default properties to specify at least the source of the event and basic information about the SDK, similar to what's included in the session start and session end events. Additionally, let's set the logger level to debug. Now we can call the initialization function. The SDK should now be initialized, and we can search for the profile in the Bloomreach platform. As we can see, the session started, the first session, and the installation event with default properties were all tracked successfully. Now, we will show you how to use the basic SDK methods. First, let's take a look at the identification method on GitHub. This method is not only used for identification, but also for updating customer properties. After adding the code, let's enter the test user and click Identify. In the Bloomreach app, we can find the user by recent session start. The user is indeed identified with the hard ID test user. Now let's see how to track events. You will need to specify the event type, which will be the name of the event and event attributes in the hash map. Let's type test_event and click on a track. We can see the event contains attributes and default attributes. In order to populate or update customer properties, we will call the same method as for identification. In the hash map, we will include the properties we want to track. We will type a random name property and click on Track. As we can see, the property was tracked successfully on the profile. To manually flush the data, we can call the flushData method. Next, we have the anonymization method. This method should be called whenever the user logs out of your application. It is not only responsible for creating a new user with a new random cookie, but also for deleting the push token from the previous profile. This prevents you from sending the same push notification to the same device. The last feature we will guide you through is the App Inbox feature, which allows you to send persistent information to your mobile device. You can either use our predefined UI component with fully customizable styling, or only fetch the information and build the app inboxed on your own. For this, I have added a button, a pin box, with an on-click listener. Upon clicking, I will start the App Inbox activity intent. Upon clicking the App Inbox, we can see that something went wrong. The error in the log indicates that the user has not been identified with a hard ID, which is one of the requirements. For that reason, let's use our Identify button and identify the user. Now the error is gone, but the App Inbox is empty. Let's go into the project and find the test user by searching the recent session start event. In this scenario, we will reset the Trigger Now option. We will also verify the condition that will only execute the campaign on our users. In the App Inbox node, we have a fully customizable HTML template for the App Inbox message. The consent category is set to general consent and expiration of 365 days. We will save and execute the scenario. At the customer level, we can see the campaign event. Let's go to the app and click on the App Inbox button. We can see there is a new unopened message among more events which you track in Exponia. And that's it. Now you know how to integrate Bloomreach SDK into your native Android application. Thank you for watching.